Hello guys, John with you, and in this video I'm going to show you a quick, we call it a tutorial, but this is basically how I do figures. But it's a very good way of doing figures, especially for beginners. Okay, I'm not an artist, so I find that if you follow tutorials on from other YouTubers that that are pretty darn good at figures, and you try to copy them, if you don't have that artistic talent in the first place, you're going to find it very difficult, and you're going to end up with something that looks very clownish. Okay, so you're starting off your kids, and you get say a set of figures, and you want them to look some way decent. Okay, and this is a way it works for me. It's quite simple. Nothing, shall we say, extravagant, and it works for good figures as it does for bad figures. Now, I prefer not to use bad figures. I used them in the past, and I find that bad figures can absolutely ruin a kit. Okay, you can have a beautiful paint job done on your tank or whatever it is, and stick in a figure that are badly molded, and they just look horrible. Okay, no matter how good of a paint job you do on them, it'll always look horrible. Okay, so I'll always go for reasonably good figures. If the figures are bad, I just won't use them. Okay, I'll close the hatches, things like that. And you can also buy, say, aftermarket sets of figures. Now, this quick little tutorial will be done in about 3 or 4 quick short videos. Okay, first video we're going to get the figure made and mounted for painting. The second video we're going to get the main colours in. The next one then we're going to start to do a little bit more of a detail painting. Okay, very short little detail painting, because the figures I've picked out don't have very much say add-on accessories onto them, but we'll explain about that as we move along. And then finally then will be for, say, weathering the figures. Okay, like I said, they're going to be quick short videos, apart from this one, because I'm obviously blabbering on and explaining what I'm going to do. So, like everything else, tools, they're really important. So what do you need? Okay, you need side cutters, you need a hobby knife, you will need a sanding stick, and of course you will need some liquid cement. Okay, that's the cement I use. I prefer the Tamiya extra thin. I find it very good. And also another thing for figures, it's more, say, for I wouldn't say advanced builders or anything, but somebody who's been building for a while. You will make up this stuff here. I have a tutorial there on in along my videos on how to make this stuff. It's called sprue glue, and basically what it is, it's your leftover bit of Tamiya extra thin mixed with spare sprue, right? And sprue is basically the extra bits of plastic that your figures are kind of stuck onto. Okay, I'll show you in a second what sprue is, but I'm not going to use it today. It's very good for figures, because if you use that, because it's got the Tamiya extra thin, and if you use these for gluing your figures together, it does kind of 2 jobs. It fills them and sticks them together all in one. But we're not going to use that today. We're just going to go quite basic. We're just going to use the Tamiya extra thin. Okay, so the next thing you'll need, obviously enough, is a set of figures. Now these figures, these are actually a very nice set. They're dragon figures. Okay, they're kit number 6191. They're from Dragon, and it's Octung Yabo Panzer Crew, France, 1944. Okay, so what we're going to first do is we're going to pick out our figure. Okay, so which figure will we do? Which one? We will do this guy here. Okay, no, we'll do this chap. Alright, so we will take them off the sprue. Now, come away from the figure. Don't go right up to the piece. Now when you're making a kit, go right up to the piece, but for figures, give them that little bit extra and leave that little bit on, right? Cut away from the figure, right? As you see, you're leaving a little bit of sprue gate on them, okay? So there's his torso, or his body, okay? One arm, two arms, because people usually do have two hands, okay? Two legs, one, two, a head, one, that's his cowl, his head, and we'll give him a hat as well, okay? Now, with this set we have a choice of hats. We can give him sort of the slope hat or forge cap, or we can give him say the roundy hat. We'll give him the roundy hat, okay, nice soft cap, okay. Now the same applies to no matter what hat you use, or you use a helmet, anything like that. It's quite straightforward. Right, now looking at this guy's hands, we might as well give him a set of binoculars. We have to give him something to sort of to put in place. Okay, so we have a set of binoculars here. Right, so there's our pieces. Okay, that's what we're going to use. That's basically it. Okay, we've got everything there. So now we're going to tidy up our pieces. Now you can go in and give it a little bit of an extra clean up, a bit closer. Alright. Again, starting with our torso. Nice and light, make sure you don't remove any of the detail. As you see, I am not using a rough sanding stick. This is actually quite smooth, because I don't want to remove too much. Just want to get rid of that bit of a sprue bit. Okay, then we go in with our knife and we look to see, is there any seam lines? Now these are dragon figures, so we're not expecting to have very many. But they are just sort of, it's a mould line where the two pieces come together. Now, like I said, good quality figures, you're not really going to get that, but that is, look at the detail on those. Very nice indeed. Okay, now I do have a little bit too much light on that, but there we go. And as you can see, the detail on that figure is actually quite nice. Right, nice deep detail. That's what you want. Right. Okay, so there's our first figure. A little bit of extra there on the back of his collar. So there's his body then. I'm going to carry on then for his arms. Again, I'm going to remove that little bit of a sprue gate on it. Clean it off with our knife. Always just take the tiniest piece off. Never take more. Just, you can use the edge of the blade to scrape off anything extra. Okay, so happy enough with that. Again, tiniest little bits at a time. Never take off too much. If you've got a big bit to remove, remove it in stages. Don't try and take it all in one go. Just tidy it up a bit. Right, just tiniest little mark there. With our smooth side again. Just clean it off. Okay, so we've got the body and 2 arms. Now let's give him a pair of legs. Otherwise he's going to be arsing around the place. One of the reasons I said about using good figures, if you go back to say some of the early Tamiya figures, you get them with kids. The boot detail, they're flat. The detail is very, very bad on the boots. Now that's grand if you're going to sort of stick him in a turret or something, but if you're going to have him out or standing beside the vehicle, you want him looking good. You want to, you're not being what we call a rivet counter by making sure that he's got heels on his shoes. That's kind of basic stuff, So it is, like I said, if the figures are bad, they can ruin your kit. So, and you don't have to be an expert. Believe me, I am far from being an expert when it comes to figures. Like I said, I just don't have that artistic talent. But I find that the way I do them, I end up with a figure that I'm happy with. And believe me, a lot of people have actually said it to me that they like my figures, and they're going, "How can you actually like them? They're so basic." And then when I looked at it, I realised, don't overdo it. And a lot of people tend to overdo it. They try to make them perfect. And unless you have that artistic talent in the first place, you are not going to succeed. I mean, you can watch these television artists. We've all watched them on television. These, the guys in the Bob Rosses and the like. And they make it look so simple, because to them it is so simple. And then you go try it yourself, and you find out, whoa, that is not so simple at all. That is actually very, very hard. Now look at that face. Look at the detail on that face. That is absolutely fabulous. There we go. Beautiful figures. Okay. So it's worth spending just a few pounds. They're not very expensive. Even these dragon figures, they're not expensive at all. And they're like I said, they're a nice figure, and they'll enhance any kit. We're going to stand him now for a finish beside the elephant, and you'll see that he'll blend in quite nicely with it. Okay, there's his hat. And finally, his binoculars, his sea vision fire device. Okay. Now, another thing as well is make sure you have all your pieces ready before you start gluing. Okay. So that way then you're happy then that they're all done and they're all ready. Okay. We start off so with his legs. With the legs now, dry fit them. What I mean by dry fit them is put them together and see what they're going to look like. And he says, alright, that's how he's going to stand. That's how they're going to fit together. Happy with that. Happy that there's no sort of major pieces sticking in the way. Alright. A little bit to me extra tin around where they're going to go. Put it together and get it in place. I would try and go, once you put it together, if he's a standing figure, try and stand up the legs and get the stance right. Okay, so you can even see from the figure that he's going to have the slight lean over. He's going to be slightly leaning. So I'm happy with that. Once I'm happy with that now, right? That's when I look at it and say, oh, he's not right at all. An extra little bit back. Right. And get that right before you move on to the next stage. Make sure you get that little bit right, because it'll make the next stage that so much easier. Okay, so as you can see, I'm happy with that. Again, take a look at him from all directions. With these type figures, they've got that little hole in the center. I'd always get an extra little bit of, extra tin and plop it in there. Plop it around like that. Go around the joints. Just an extra little bit. There's no harm. A little bit of a blowing, and there he is. Okay, so next bit now, next step. Nice bit of glue onto them. And by using a nice bit of glue rather than just a small bit, if you use just too small a piece of, or say a small amount of glue, you're not going to get that ability to wiggle them around and get the should we say get your position right. And you can see that's totally wrong. So wiggle it around, get it to where you're happy with, and you can still move them. Okay. And follow the kind of that crease. I see it coming down here. Oh, I'm happy with that. Again then, a little bit of extra Tamiya. Glue around him. Oopsie daisy. Butterfingers. Okay. So now we're onto his arms. Again, a nice generous bit. Not too much. You don't want it sort of floating in there. But you want to, like I said, because you want to wiggle. Now, we'll stick his arm, and we'll stick his arm, say, in an area that he's not going to be like that. But if we only use a small bit of glue, we wouldn't be able to sort of wiggle him around and get it to where it's proper. Now, you're going to have little gaps. Don't worry about them at all. We will attend to them in the next video. believe it or not, like I said, it's all sort of in the detailing. I might even get it done in this video, believe it or not. I get them finished off in the next. Otherwise we just be sort of putting in a small bit of filler and that'll be it. Okay, so there we are. I'm happy with him. Another bit of glue into there, around and down. And again, once you have it glued in place, again just double check. Check across the back, check across the front. Now, here's another arm, funnily enough. Nice for him to have two hens. Okay. Oops. Getting his legs off moving there. And finally, his head. Now as you get more advanced with this and things like that, you might decide to leave off the head, drill a hole in the head in and paint the heads as separately. As if you get much better at it, and you know, if you have that artistic talent, then off you go and do it that way. But if you don't have, like me, you don't have that artistic talent, there ain't much you can do. Okay, his head is on. A little blobble there for his hat. And then again, like I said, then we've got a little blob in his hand, and we've got his binoculars in his hand. Do. By humming, I can't get done for copyright. That's my song you used. Okay. So there we go. Now that is quite an unusual pose, I must admit. Quite an unusual pose. But, you know, people twist and move in funny ways. Right, when it comes to mounting it for painting, as you you know, start developing your toolkit for modelling, one of the things you will purchase is a pin vise. Now this is basically what a pin vise is. It's just a little handheld drill bit that you can hold small drill bits with. Now a lot of people, what they do is they drill a small hole up through his heel, stick in either a toothpick or a piece of wire, and then mount them on a piece of cork or a bit of styrofoam, anything at all like that. But when you're starting off, you're not going to go off and purchase one of these. They're cheap, but they're not super cheap, right? But you will buy a packet of these, because you'll have them around the place. And if you've been watching my series on the beginner's guide for the elephant, remember that student, attack him again and rob these off him. He'll probably have them. They're little double-sided sticky buds, pads, thingies. Okay, dead handy. And in a bottle. Now it doesn't have to be empty. You can use one that, a bottle of paint that you're not going to use on the figure. You can use that, right? And very easily, there we go. Like I said, they're double-sided. Pop your figure onto it, and he's there, ready for your painting. Okay. Right. Now, this is where the old sprue glue does come in handy. Otherwise, you'll have to use something like, say, a model filler. This is another one that I have. It's a Mr. White Putty. But for figures, I find that the sprue glue is so handy and so easy. Okay. Now, you find the area that you want to fill. Now, where do I want to fill? Tiny little bit up there in the arm. Okay, just the tiniest little bit up there in the arm. Wet the area with a bit of the tinymoore extra thin. Get your sprue glue. Make sure the tip is mostly clean, because you only want the barest little bit, right? And by having the piece wet with the tinymoore extra thin, what it'll do is it'll kind of suck the sprue glue off the brush. And it'll slowly fill that little spot. Don't try to blob it down in one go. Nice and gently. Fill your little seam. Give a little blow, and there we go. And there's that shoulder now, nicely cleaned off. Okay, so there's our figure. Like I said, it is a right weird pose, but that's how the figures are, so that's what we got. So there's our figure, all nicely done. Would you call it strutting? He's strutting his stuff. Okay. Now you could put another little bit of filler there on his neck. He's just spotted a tiny little bit there on his neck. Same idea again. Clean off most of the filler on the brush, because you don't want it to blob in. You don't want a big bit, because it's very, very hard to remove it afterwards if you get too much in there. Another good filler as well for tiny little gaps like that. Forgot to mention it when I was doing the last bit of explaining about fillers on the elephant. Is, believe it or not, is a bit of super glue. Okay, so what you do is handy little applicator for super glue, believe it or not, the needle, a sewing needle, and use the eye side of it, the piece that's got that little hole for sticking the thread through. Okay, and dip it into your super glue. That'll kind of collect a little globule of glue and pop it into little areas like that. But I prefer the sprue glue. I think it does just as good. Okay, so for a finish, there we go. There's our figure. In the next video, we're going to get him painted, okay? Because we're going to have to leave him dry for a couple of hours, so he's nice and solid. Let the Tamiya Extra Thin do its job, do its work, okay? Because what it is, it's not a glue. It's a chemical which melts the plastic, and as it cools down, we call it cool down, but as it cures, it hardens the plastic back up again then. Okay, so there we go. There's our figure all made, and in the next video, I'll do it tomorrow night, we'll get him painted. And what we'll do then is we'll paint the main colours in. Then when all the main colours are dry in, then we'll do little touch-ups. Okay, little touch-ups. We'll paint the binoculars. We'll paint little badges on his uniform, and a little badge then in his hat. And we'll do another tiny little bit then to his face. Okay, we'll give him a bit of colour to his face other than the normal, say, flat colour. Don't have to go into shading and all that kind of thing, and forget about eyes. Just forget about eyes. If you're not the artistic type and you don't have a super thin brush, and you're not really good at them, don't do them. Because what I'm going to show you when it comes to the weathering side, you will see that it'll do just as good as a pair of eyes on the figure. Okay, so there we go. That's our figure made, and we're going to carry on, and we're going to get him painted and all that in the next video. The video after that, then we're going to get him all finished off. So thank you for taking your time out to watch this quick little video on figures for beginners. Figures for beginners, that's a nice little ring to it. And I'll see you very soon. Don't forget to stay tuned to the channel. We'll be carrying on another couple of videos with the elephant itself, and we'll get that finished off, painted and weathered, and we'll get it kind of mounted onto some kind of a little board with our chap here walking along beside it. Okay, so don't forget to stay tuned to the channel, lads, and subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified as soon as I upload another video to the little collection. Okay, so see you soon. Take care. Go out and buy yourself a kit, build it and enjoy it. And don't forget, if the figures are bad, go off and spend a few more quid and buy yourself a decent set of figures to go with it. Okay, because it just makes it look that little bit better. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.